You've got a working camera now, Lydia?
Yes. I've got a working computer now.
That's good.
Hey, Melina, I think you've got a radio or something in the background. You might want to...
I got it. Sorry.
Trouble, if I may, I meant to reach out to you beforehand. I didn't have a chance, but I wanted to give you just a quick update. Correct me if I'm wrong, you were not able to join us in the last of the Mile Group Hangouts where we talked about the modified Cyborg Beast design, is that right?
I think I was there for that one, but I missed the first of those 3 Hangouts.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of, because it seems like what you have on the agenda for tonight is a pretty similar discussion. So we have the notes from that if you want to use them, but you know,
Go ahead and post the link into the sidebar chat, and we can use it.
Sounds good.
I guess any of us that want to can add to the notes once it's posted in the sidebar.
I guess actually, you know, I should correct myself because that's really more a discussion of adding the thumb positioning and the wrist rotation, whereas you're talking more about the thumb modifications. So I take that back. It's what I wanted to talk about instead was actually just some of the updates that maybe Mark can even talk about, because I think he's probably, you're one of the ones that was working on that. Adam Carson is the other one, right?
Yep.
So I just printed one of those too, and it came out really nicely, and we're doing our first assembly, so I certainly think that's relevant to this discussion.
And with that hand, we've actually, or today, I had a couple hours to spare, and so I kind of fixed it. There was a couple manifold issues. So what Adam and I have been working on for the past couple of days is that we've taken the newest version 1.4 that is just about to be released to everyone, and we modified the current existing palm that's in non-manifold, but that's in manifold condition, and we modified it to looking how it looks now with the no thumb part of it. And there was a couple manifold issues like that, but I fixed them all out today. There's about 200 or some vertices. I go in there, freehand them all, but it didn't take more than an hour and a half, 2 hours to do, because they're pretty simple ones to do. But now we got that, so we're going to be releasing all those files up pretty soon.
Hey, Mark, I had one question for you on that, and I don't know, we can talk about it separately if you want, but in my testing, my first print on the gauntlet for the no-thumb model actually failed. And it failed because on the one side where there's one half of it where it's not actually coming down and making contact with the build plate, so it's essentially trying to build up from support material. So I'm going to share my screen here. Are you able to see this?
Yep.
So I don't even think you can see it here visually, but I rotated this on the. It's not showing anymore, but I rotated it on the y-axis by just a couple of degrees.
Yep,
so
I see
that,
it.
So that this part here is making contact with the bed, and my second print came out perfectly. So I don't know if that was something that you might want to consider in the default model, making it so that this edge here actually comes down and makes contact with the bed. But that really helped for me.
It's funny that you say that because that's something that I already did the other day. So.
Oh, great!
we had a
gentlemen, I have a request. You two know what you're talking about. I know that I don't, and I suspect that no one else does either.
Well, I mean, very, very briefly, when you print something like this, if you ignore everything over here on the right side, because remember, everything is being built up from the bottom in layers, and in fact here, I'm sorry, I should have thought of this before, I'll just go to my visualization mode here real quick, and it'll be easier to show you. So now I'll visualize by layer. I don't want a single layer only.
What model is this? That's, I think, the part that I didn't.
So this is the gauntlet part of the new design that Mark and Adam Carson and others have been working on for a Cyborg Beast for people that have a good thumb. So there's nothing over, it's only got one hinge, and the hand piece has the thumb part cut out. So the whole thing is made for somebody that has a good thumb. Okay? And what I was just talking about here is when you look at it from the way it prints, building up from the first layer, you can see there on the left where now it's the actual print itself is starting right from the beginning. That's this part right in here. Whereas before it was building up support material and then trying to build the object on top of that. And that was not working too well. So Mark's already taken care of that.
Okay.
I'm preparing the notes for the Hangout notes for tonight.
There's the Palm model, John.
Second, I will post the link to the notes.
Okay. Kachina, were you asking about thumb intact designs today? Someone was.
Can you repeat that?
I can, yes. Were you asking about a design for people who have thumbs, or was it someone else?
I mentioned it because I'd heard about it. I was wondering if it was one of the things we should focus on during the workshop this weekend.
Got it.
So kind of off that, it's not completely done yet, but here is what a design looks like. It doesn't have any of the gauntlet part on it because we're still printing that off as we speak. But as you can tell, that there is no thumb part as we're coming off on this side right here. Fingers, everything else lays just like how it normally would lay. Cables run just how they normally would run normally. You're just not running the fifth wire to the thumb. So.
And I do remember seeing some question as to whether that single pivot was structural and strong enough. You concluded that it is?
Yep, 100%.
Well, you notice what he did in the model at that hinge. They strengthened it considerably because now it sort of wraps around, if you see there. Whereas before it was just a single piece there, and they also thickened it in here. So yeah, it looks like it's been nicely strengthened there.
Yeah, but we're gonna thicken it in just a little bit more to kind of there's like a little thin
Yeah,
part
like right
goes
in
on.
here. Yeah, that would be great.
We're gonna thicken that a little bit more just to be extra safe because I mean, it's bad if something breaks like that and you have to rewire everything like that. So we're trying to.
There's a lot of stress right at that point.
Cool.
But yeah, it looks great.
And then we also, I don't know, Jeremy, did you point out the part on the actual palm itself where there's that little triangle piece connecting to the tab of the hinge? I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, that piece there, yeah. No, actually, you know what? I don't know that I did notice it.
So that's also something that we're going to incorporate onto the Cyborg Beast models, and it's just to straighten up the tab. It's a little triangle piece. It doesn't look like much, but there's there's different geometry in there that kind of goes inside of it. That also is going to strengthen up the tabs, and we also made them a little bit thicker on the one hinge palm there. So
very nice.
So just to let you know, Jeremy, your kits, they may not work the best. I don't know how thick both are going to be for that tab size because it is double hinge like that.
That's a great point. We'll be sure to test that out. Thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure let you know that if anyone did ask for what hand style they were using, and they know we're using the residual thumb or thumb cutout hand,
Yeah, I'll find the size that works, and I'll just start to include one of those just in case. That's a great point. Thanks.
I guess like a 1/2 inch bolt will be fine. So.
Okay. What other topics do we have? Oh, here we are talking about the thumb intact design. It would be great. I'm working on file hygiene right now. If Mark, you would put a link to the latest post about that design into the notes, because everyone has trouble finding their way back, and if our notes included the links, it would be very helpful.
And I will have to say this so everyone doesn't know it. I didn't do as much work as I normally do on all these models here. Adam took the whole reign of this whole thing and really took it out and hit it out of the park with this whole thumb thing. So he did all the work with the cutting the palm out and the gauntlet like that. So I was there just to mentor him and help him out along the way, but he really took it in his own hands and did it. So.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, I've never heard the name Adam Carson before today. Who is he?
Adam Carson, he is a senior now at Creighton University, and he is part of our research team within the past half a semester or so. And this was kind of one of his bigger projects that, we kind of said, what, let's see what you can do, and kind of take the ropes of it, and by all means, he wowed us. So.
That's great.
Hey, Mark?
Yeah.
Yep.
Would we be able to incorporate some holes in the gauntlet for attaching the Velcro?
Yeah, we definitely could.
Maybe 2 on each side of the tensioner block, and then you'd have, you could mount it there with 2 on each side. That would be very handy for attaching that.
Yeah, that definitely we can do that. I'll write that down to actually do it before we release the new things. Are you saying that because most people don't have a drill, or?
No, I want to avoid people having to drill into parts wherever possible. It does introduce, it might seem like a very common sense skill, but you need to start with a smaller bit and work your way up, and it's very easy to crack the plastic if you're not careful. And it would just be nice to at least have a version that has the holes there.
Right. I think the hardest part is that, especially with us, with the reason why we don't have many holes in the gauntlet part of it is because that. Sometimes the way how the Velcro needs to be positioned is a little bit different. Not by much, but a little bit different. And sometimes here and there, it makes a little bit of difference. But I mean,
maybe we could have 2 versions: one with the holes in a sort of a standard position, and then the other one without the holes if people want to drill their own.
Right. Generally, you can just you can cut the holes different in the Velcro. You just have to be careful with how much extra fat or how much extra Velcro you have on the sides, so it doesn't tear open or anything like that. So.
Great.
Hey, I find myself wondering whether, the self-adhesive Velcro one can buy, whether just putting that on the outside lateral edges would be an easier way of dealing with Velcro anyway.
Well, you're saying to apply it like here on the outer part on the side of the gauntlet?
That's right, and then you would just do a strap from side to side. And
you'd have to somehow just cover the sticky part on the underside of the Velcro?
No. You'd use adhesive Velcro to attach it to the gauntlet on both sides.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So just have a little strip of Velcro on each side there, and then you have your strap of Velcro that goes across. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I like that. I'm going to have to experiment with that, too.
Try it, Jeremy, because you might have better luck than what we did. We've done it. Well, we've tried it in the past before. The problem with this plastic is, sometimes either one with the weather, when it does get warmer, the Velcro tends to lose the stickiness.
Yeah.
It likes to slip around. And the Velcro does, or the sticky Velcro does not like to stick super well to the plastic. And we were using pretty sticky part of that. So that might be a problem to do it. What we actually ended up having to do with, if we had to do that, was probably put a bolt through it and then screw it down.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
That's the only problem. So it's a good idea, though. Maybe it's worth some trying around and see what we can do with it.
Okay. I have some show and tell today. Sorry, shall I take the floor for a minute?
Please.
Okay. So sadly, I've made a new post, and you'll see it if you go to e-NABLE. It includes some video of me attempting to demonstrate the new pull me, pull you springless mechanism in progress. It's not on YouTube, so I don't know how to play it in the window here, but if you each find it and play it, I'll point out how it works. I think it's pretty cool. As you recall, I believe our standard hands all use elastic to pull the fingers back up. But the RIT arm afforded an opportunity to produce a mechanism that eliminates the need for springs and eliminates the need to pull against the springs when you're trying to clench your fist. And I'm not positive you can see it from the video, but the trick is, and if you look at my video stream, you'll see me gesturing. What you have here is the gauntlet has a lever, and the hand, so the socket side has got not one but two portals through which the string runs. And so the string runs from up here on the gauntlet where it's anchored through the end of this lever and then one string goes up to this portal and another string goes down to this portal, such that, this is the magic, when you bend your arm, the lever moves between these two portals in such a way that it tightens one cable at the same time as it gives slack to the other. And when you go the other way, it tightens the other cable and gives slack to this one. If you look carefully at the video, you can see there's a knot on the black pipe which slides from side to side as we bend the arm.
Similar to belts in old clockworks.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
I suppose so. I think it has promise. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask you, what was the purpose of having the strings go from side to side? Was it to make a full fist, or was it to make a kind of pinching motion, or like a kind of closing one part of the hand and open the other part of the hand, or what is it?
Okay.
What was your goal?
I can see that I've totally confused you. These fingers are not fingers. These are me imitating the mechanism.
No, I know that. I posted. I watched the video before this hangout. And,
oh, okay.
I guess my question was, when the strings get pulled, like you said, one side gets pulled, it kind of shifts over, and the other side gets pulled like that.
That's right.
When you have them attached to the fingers, are they gonna? Is it when it pulls, is the fingers just gonna close and open up like that, or is it
That's right. One string will close all 5 fingers. The other string goes along the back, replacing the springs, and when that one is controlled, is pulled, it'll open the fingers back up.
Oh, by springs you mean elastic string?
We have eliminated the elastic springs. We've replaced the elastic springs with another set of strings for pulling the fingers up.
You were using springs for the hand?
Well, bungees. Were we not all using?
Okay, I was confused with that part, because when you said springs, I'm thinking of metal springs, not elastic.
All right. So let me try telling the story again.
There you go. Okay.
Right? We currently have bungees along the top of the fingers. Under this new design, we have another set of strings along the top of the fingers. And the function of this lever mechanism with the 2 portals is to pull the extensor strings or the flexor strings as you toggle between these 2 portals. Apparently, you have to see it to understand it, but that's the story.
No, I get it. I guess my next follow-up question, maybe you don't know this part yet, but how are you going to attach them up to all the fingers so that, because with the way how the cyborg hand is, you have each individual string go up each individual fingers. When you do pull, you got your fingers that bend.
That's right.
With something that's in the loop, you can't connect it in between each finger and kind of weave it in and out. So how do you plan on connecting it to each individual finger?
That's not a problem. There are more elegant ways to do it, but right now the idea is you have 5 fingers, the 5 strings going through the top portal, and 5 strings going through the bottom portal.
Okay.
And the bottom portal causes the clenching, and the top portal causes the opening.
Okay.
And everybody's happy. Right.
I'm just trying to think, because, like you said, there's probably a more elegant way, but just thinking with the 5 strings on top and 5 strings on bottom, there's going to be a lot of friction, and when there's a lot of friction, it's going to cause a lot of torque.
That's
I know
right.
I was talking to one of the Jordans today. I was talking to the Jordan, and he was talking to me about how they have actually removed the middle finger and the pinky finger of the Cyborg Beast to actually make it a 3-pronged finger, kind of like Peter's hand.
That's right.
So they kind of made their own modification. They just didn't use those 2 fingers and phalanges, and it actually made in the realistic mind, it made the hand easier to close because it was less force like that. So even and that was for someone with a 7-year-old, and we've seen someone with a 3-year-old who's been able to use all the fingers, including the thumb. So I was just thinking, it's not another way to fix that.
The answer is, first of all, I think there's less consequence on the friction than you think, at least in the clenching department, because you're no longer pulling against bungees. Now you are pulling against the friction of those 5 strings, but I actually think that's minimal. Secondly, if it isn't minimal, you can have one string on top and 1 string at the bottom, and then have them fan out out towards the fingers. I know how to do that for the arm. I think I know how to do that for a hand. This is just an update, but it's a mechanical principle that I'm pretty sure is going to work pretty well.
No, yeah, it sounds really cool. I just, like I said, I love asking questions and trying to figure it out.
It's okay.
It's similar to the mechanism that Peter Binkley posted a few months ago.
The push and pull cables?
Yes, it is. It is, although I think this is mechanically much simpler.
Yeah. He was doing it the way he did because he didn't have as much of an angle to work with, so he put the mechanically moving part to change the pull, or to do the push-pull.
Right. It's less obvious how you do this with a hand, but you can do it with the hand, I think. So I'll work on that.
How's the?
He's in my maker circles and not in my e-NABLE circles, so he didn't get a specific invite to the event. Let me do that. Let me take care of that real quick.
He who?
Oh, Peter Binkley.
Oh.
Yeah, he has different.
He's in my e-NABLE circle. Invite to this, and he should have.
I see.
So.
Well, I can't invite, but I can give you his. Well, I don't know.
How is the rigidity of the fingers?
I'll invite him.
Under that design of mine, I can't report on that yet. Although I don't see why it would be any different.
Because there's no elastic. Because the thing is with the elastic, what the elastic does, it does 2 different things. Is what we. The reason why we use it is because one, it pulls the fingers back up into the extension position, and then the other thing is that even though you're using strings to pull the fingers in here, you still have something pulling against in the opposite way, and it's not a ton of force. Kids, it's not too much of a force where the kids can't overcome that force. But if you don't have that force going back in the other direction, the fingers will become sloppy or dead, where they just kind of they kind of just bounce around and all that kind of stuff. Because there's no force going either way. So I'm not sure if you have a way how to wire it where it is rigid in both ways, but
it should be. If you have basically 0 slack, well, that remains to be seen. But I'm hoping that you can have the lines just barely taut, in which case the fingers will be fixed in whatever position matches the angle. We'll see. I'll keep you posted.
No, yeah, I would love to see the mechanical background of the whole thing and see how everything's laced up and all of that, see how it would work.
I don't do mechanical backgrounds. I tinker. I'm not an engineer.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
All right. This concludes my progress report. Who's next?
I'm glad I got to see that. I actually have to take the opportunity to say goodbye. I'm going to have to jump to another meeting. So talk to you all soon.
See you later.
So, anybody else have anything else to bring? It was at Jeremy's suggestion that I picked the topic that we were talking about today, but I didn't have a lot to add to it. If anybody else has any other design conversations, let's feel free to.
Well, actually, Skip, let me just think. I think, do you know Skip Meets? Skip is one of our new members, and I see that he's here right now. He might like to join us. If you have him in a circle.
Let me send it specifically. It's posted. It's sent.
Okay, good. Let's see if he has something to add.
So I was just curious. Can I kind of take a bit of a left turn, or do you guys still want to talk about the thumb stuff?
No, we're going what you want.
It's
Okay.
an R&D discussion, so take as many left turns as you need.
Anyway, so Bob and Mark, as long as you guys are on this call, and everybody else, turns out that the person that Seth was going to work with, Seth has actually gotten pretty busy. So I forget the guy's name, but Bob and Mark, you guys both wanted to help out with sort of utility stuff for fingers.
Yes.
And so basically,
can anybody hear me?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just got that fixed. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Am I
So
too loud?
what do you guys want to talk about regarding Swiss Army hands and fingers and stuff?
You know what? I haven't, since someone else was going to take the lead of it, I kind of dropped the ball of actually thinking of ideas on how to create a way to hold or put something on the fingers to attach them like that. But I'm sure that, you know, if Bob and I came up with something, we could come up with something real quick and, you know, figure something out and make it really work. And I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't done much work on that. I've been so busy working with these two hands that I'm working on now that I just haven't had any time, because there's another project that Jeremy Simon wanted to work on for a while, and I haven't. I'm just really cramming to get my hands finished right now.
Okay.
Yeah, no pun intended.
I was joking with Peregrine when we first started talking about Swiss Army hands that a bottle opener is what I would like to add to my hand.
Okay. We should have some kind of a document of what people want. You know, like you said, bottle opener. Somebody else said something to be able to hold a hammer with and nails with or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lydia, check back, or let's make a list, and then send me a list of things you want me to kind of sketch up or even kind of create something of that. And then after we do that, check back with me within like 3 days to 5 days, and I should have a couple ideas going, and we can make this ball roll. Obviously, if it's not me doing it, you know, I can pass on the ideas to some other people, and we can get something going here.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be you. I'm just saying you.
I would love to do it.
Oh, okay. Well, you know,
Let me suggest that we explore the possibility of some kind of a detachable socket. If it's going to be a Swiss Army hand, you don't necessarily want all of the tools on the hand at the time, but
Right.
wouldn't it be fun if you could pop in the right tool and have it sort of snap into place?
Right.
That's
The fingertip would be nice. Something you could fit different size bits into, although I don't know how we would tighten it down.
well, unfortunately, well, not maybe fortunately, Seth has already made at least a finger for somebody that actually does. You actually do put bits into. So
Nice.
it's kind of unfortunate that he can't be part of this project, but for the moment, he's in community.
A lot of the screwdrivers that have detachable bits have a standardized size, so it would be pretty easy to make a fingertip have a socket for those. That was you know.
That's a possibility, but most of the fingers that I've seen are not designed to withstand that kind of rotational torque. Not that
Right.
it couldn't be done. It'd be preferable to attach it to the socket itself rather than individual fingers.
exactly.
But that's not to say that you can't do that. But I would, and at the same time, if you could also send me that same list you're going to send Mark, because I definitely would love to work on that.
Yeah.
If you make it a Google Doc, if you make the list a Google Doc, you can just share it with share it with the community, and that might be an easy way. And make it so that anybody who logs into it can write, and then anybody can brainstorm and put their own ideas into it.
Right. And I think for starters right now, what Bob Bob and I kind of had the vision of, and kind of what I was thinking right before Bob said it was, you know, it would be cool to eventually go down the line and make a detachable kind of socket that would fit around the finger, but then you have to remember that these fingers aren't going to be for torque in those kind of directions or in those angles. So what the best idea to do is actually to make it sounds like it's going to be like a lot more work, but to make an additional hand where you would modify the current existing Cyborg Beast hand into a way to, like you said, make a vise, which was my idea of making some vise or some tensioning system that would be to wrap around or to clinch or to pinch whatever said object is. Because you got to remember, a knife or a tong or a screwdriver that he's going to place into his hand or into the socket, to say, is not going to be the same for every single screwdriver you have. So you need something that can be an adjustable size or adjustable socket. And I think that's probably the best idea to go to, and that's why I was thinking with the kind of a similar version of the vise, but it's something I already have something that's already popped in my head that might be something to go with. So.
Well, somebody was talking recently about a chef who wanted to hold some cooking utensils, and I said it'd be best to have him go out and find a nice set that all had the same handle. You're home free. All you got to do is make one design.
Right, and that's true. We definitely could do something like that where you have one thing, one hand, you know, to do everything that they want to do for the chef hand. But I guess being me, you could think of doing something more than just having the chef hand. So more than just that design being used just for the chef hand and just for that handle of that socket, you could have a hand that could be used, let's say a hardware hand where you could be using it for chef work. You know, you could have different. The socket be somehow, you know, you can have where you can pinch down on some things for a different size. You can also use that for hammering, because then, you know, the socket can also pinch down on the hand.
You could adapt a cordless drill.
Yeah, I mean, you can do many different things. The cordless drill is a good idea. It might be a little heavy.
Well, no, the socket would be like the cordless drill socket, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, those do weigh a little bit of. I mean, depending on what industrial strength you get and how, because you also got to remember to get something that has a big socket head, you know, you have to get a bigger drill head, and those do get heavier from personal experience. So.
Right.
David, I'll stop for a second and say welcome to the Hangout, Skip.
Well, thank you. I've been watching, and I didn't know how to join in. I somehow had stumbled into here, so I'm proud to be here.
That's good.
I'd like to mention, while I got the floor, David Dietz had mentioned to me that there are lots of people using prosthetics that are basically just the old stick with a hook, because they are very sturdy and enable them to do things that the ones with moving fingers and so forth won't let them do. So having a interchangeable tool that just hooks onto your gauntlet, you know, might be useful for some people in some applications.
Right. I think some of the tools want to be hand-mounted, some want to be finger-mounted, some might even want to be gauntlet-mounted.
Right.
I'm just taking
ruggedizing these things. I think it'd be kind of fun at some point to make one of these, make a Cyborg Beast out of PLA and then cast it in a clay of some sort and melt it out and fill it with aluminum and do aluminum casting of a Cyborg Beast and see how that behaved.
Iron Man.
So that'd be awesome to do. And I have looked into something that as like a model looking, but you're going to be looking at around the $300 range for cast aluminum.
Oh,
so,
that makes sense.
Carbon fiber is not going to get expensive, and then you have to have sheet, or you have to have be able to work with it, and because you have to lay down the sheets and then you have to use the resin and all that. So it does take some skill work. I'm not saying it's possible. So
yeah.
Keep in mind that Shapeways is available to do all sorts of things in metal, as long as you're willing to pay the price. So you can send them a model and you'll get it back.
They're expensive.
I have a guy in Tulsa who does aluminum casting. So if something were to come up, I have a source for that.
There's also a kind of a freelancer design studio stuff here in Omaha. that's about a mile or so away from me. That's on in downtown. That they also said that I could do like bronze. You know, we can do bronze, so that. So I mean, which is cheaper and might be easier to do. So there's different possibilities. So we can definitely look into that.
And bronze would fit in well with the steampunk look.
Well, you know,
Here in Rochester, we have a resource called Finovation PD. Ian Finn has agreed to help us out on the thumb team that we've started here, and he can do selective laser centering in nylon, just like Shapeways does. And so there's a chance we can get some parts made that way if nylon's desirable.
yeah, and the bronze thing, there just had some bronze filament just came out recently that I posted.
Yep, and there's also a new filament which I just got the shipment today, and it's a PET plus kind of filament, and from what I know is that they've actually taken what a PLA, it's a PLA type of filament where you can print like PLA, so it's super easy to print, no heated bed plate needed. It's stronger than PLA and stronger than ABS, but it's the easiest to print as PLA is.
Nice.
Again, I have no clue how well this thing is going to be. Like I said, I haven't even opened the package yet, so that's something to look into as well too. And you know, yeah, like Lydia just said, you know, there's bronze filament that's 80. It's an 80% powder-based bronze inside the PLA filament, so that might be something to actually look into. Obviously, not the average printer can actually print that because you need to get your extrude head to about 300, 310 degrees Celsius to actually get a good print quality is what I've been talking with people there. So I know with MakerBots, they really said don't push it over 275, 280-ish, because if you do push it over that, then you can start ruining the hot end and all the coils and everything there, which isn't a good idea too. So
Can they print polycarbonate or acetyl?
I don't know.
You talking about Shapeways, Bob?
Oh, I'm just talking about printing in general. What I know about printing is very little.
There is filament, and we do have it. There's a polycarbonate-based filament, and then we also have a carbon fiber-based filament too. Which again, that's something we can look into. The carbon fiber is a little weird at first because you would look at it because you can bend regular filament and it won't snap. With the carbon fiber, you bend it at all and it snaps, and you were thinking, oh, this is gonna be super brittle and after it prints, but after it prints, it's pretty tough until you really start digging into it. So that's something to also look into.
Katrina, as you're thinking about educational materials, it seems to me that a list of materials, their pros and cons, and any experience we've had about using them for the hands would be really useful.
I was just thinking that. So PLA is the most common?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a list, Mark, of the other things that we have available or that we've used?
I can come up with it real quick for you.
Yeah, and then we'll just check it against the community. I was just thinking about that. Thank you, John.
Yep.
Jeremy Simon printed my fingers in APS, and I have a tang on the back of my finger that's about 300 thousandths thick, and I put a pair of channel locks, 10-inch channel locks on that thing, and it was all I could do to break it. So I'm really happy with the ABS.
And
ABS is great.
Anybody who's stepped on a Lego barefoot knows that ABS is pretty rugged stuff.
Right.
Especially when you acetone base or acetone vapor bath that, it's going to get even stronger. Like I said, any print that we do, we don't use the acetone vapor bath just because we just haven't gotten into it because we don't need to. So now that a lot of the fingers have been breaking, I think over the 17 hands we've distributed like that, we've only had one hand come back and broken, which to our surprise was actually one of the hands that was missed, that they had a thumb, and we made a steampunk kind of, what do you want to call it, cut out of the hand with the pre-existing palm until we made this design. So
I use ABS on my old printer, and it tends to split along the grain. The horizontal grains are subject to splitting, so a tall object will break off if I don't use ABS. And I just take a swab and swab it down. I don't do the the hot vapor thing. I just use the liquid and wipe it on, let it dry, and that strengthens it real good for me.
Huh. And that's just basically painting it with acetone?
Yes, I go to the hardware store and get the material that they use for PVC pipe, plumbing pipe.
Yeah.
There's one in a yellow can. It's called Cleaner, and it's got methyl ethyl ketone and acetone in it. And either of those things are good solvents for ABS. So when the can gets empty, it's got a great little swab in it. That's why I like it. When the can gets empty, then I just refill it with acetone because I love the tool that's in it. So I just hold it over a cookie tray, so I don't get the acetone on my table. And you're supposed to have good ventilation and stuff, but it's basically fingernail polish remover, and it's.
But are you saying that the PVC cleaner is itself a useful solvent, or you're just saying that the jar and the swab are useful?
Yes. Let me see if I got some. I'll hold it up in front of the camera. Oops. I'm gonna run outside.
I don't think you answered your question there, John. But.
No, that's right. That's right. Is it A or B? The answer is yes. Well, it's true.
I think he's actually using the material itself as well.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
And then when it runs out, he just refills it with just straight acetone.
I got that, and I know that stuff. It is very effective. It's good to know that it works for this purpose.
You just be careful not to put too much on, because then it burns through the plastic.
Right, and don't breathe it too much.
Right.
I'm impressed with how quickly he went up into the attic.
Oh, and he's come back down.
Remember, this is live.
That's good. We got some humor here every once in a while.
I have a show and tell. It's made by Odie. Can you see this?
You're off camera. Move your hand. Now we're talking.
Okay. They
hold
a
it
little
still.
ball, like a shoe polish sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's just great. I just use it all the time. So when I get a part off my printer, first thing I do is swab it down, and then I'll start grinding on it with my Dremel tool and swab it down again, and it's real strong.
Right. That's a great tip.
Hey, Skip.
Yes.
Do you use so you buy the bottle, the cleaner, do you use what's already in the cleaner, or do you use that for something else and then refill it with acetone before you actually use other parts?
Both. I use what's in this cleaner, and the reason it's better than the stuff they give you for bonding pipes is they put a dye in that, so it's this funny color, a pinkish purple, and you don't want that usually. So
right.
This is clear. It's called for ABS CPVC PVC Clear Cleaner. Transparent, la-di-da. OATEY is the name of the company, and it's in the yellow can.
And that's like
hold it up to the camera.
I'll make a post about it.
Okay.
All right. Okay, but if you stop moving.
Oh.
Oh well. Moment of truth. Just be still.
Do you paint the hand?
He paints the parts that are splitting, and he paints the parts. So, like, if something in the hand does split, or something that he's printing does split, he paints it, and what it does is actually it will fuse the filament or the layers back together, however it needs to be. So.
Nice.
I've got it, Skip. Thank you. Any other topics?
I made a post with a hand using wire, and I'm particularly pleased with the wire terminations using the little crimping beads. That especially worked here on the part that would be the gauntlet, and for me it's just a forearm, because I don't intend to put this on a child. I'm just using it for research. But I have little posts. I posted this. You can read my blog post. But
yeah, I like
little posts made out of filament that are held in place on the back with my 3 doodler, just putting a blob of plastic to hold them in place. But you can put the loop of wire on the post, and then you put this cap on top of all of that, and it really traps this banded wire loop, so that I think it's very safe. Out on the finger end, it's not quite as convincing that it's safe, but my wire going to the thumb, when you pull back and open the hand, it flexes a little bit, and that's undesirable. It needs more constraints, you know, with a channel or a tube or something. But I'm encouraged that there may be, you know, worth playing around with it some more.
Skip, those crimpers that you're using, the actual beads, could you post brand name or vendor name?
I sure will. There's a picture of the. There's a picture in the post that's online now that shows, you know, the card that it came in, so the brand name and all of that's on there.
Okay, nice. I'll look at that.
Are you saying you posted it in e-NABLE?
Yes.
Oh, good. Good.
Yesterday, just recently.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting discussion that he did about the OD hand and using wire to control the fingers, but just one piece of wire, because when he straightens it out, it straightens the fingers out correctly.
Yeah, basically like the OD hand did with the weed whacker plastic filament.
Right.
Skip, have you seen any of the wire? I mean, it's too early to tell now, but keep using the hand, because you guys remember these children are going to be, or children and adults are going to be closing the hand quite a few times throughout the day, you know, when they're using it. But you also remember that since it's wire, it's going to cut into the plastic, unless it's coated, which it might be more of a hassle to get. It might be more expensive. But let me know if it ever does saw into the plastic. That's why we've kind of steered away from using any kind of metal part like that.
You aren't using braided metal, are you? You're using just a straight wire, aren't you? Skip?
Yep.
I think he's lagging.
Skip, are you using a braided wire, or are you using just a standard wire?
Skip is currently comatose.
He might have network problems.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking, Mark, is if the wire is not braided, it's probably less likely to saw into the plastic.
Right.
And that would be interesting to, yeah, he just dropped off. So I think he was having network problems.
Yeah, if it's like exactly what you said, if it's not braided, it's not gonna saw into it as much. It might just do it a little bit here and there. The biggest thing is, you know, you also gotta remember that if we're using string and elastic ends, what that's also gonna do is it's not gonna. You also gotta be careful of the ends, how you enclose it off in the fingertips or even the gauntlet part of it, because again, that could also be a safety hazard if, you know, something gets scratched at the fingertips, you know, because they could have a little bit of metal poking out. Or if the cable does poke back out through the fingertips, you know, if they're using it and the cable does poke back out when they hyperextend their hand back and the cables go out, or however it does, you know, that could be a major safety hazard like that. So that's something else to look into as well too.
While we're on this theme of cables, I think that these nickel titanium wires, even if you don't use them as a push-pull, they're very smooth. And also, I'm going to be checking in with an orthodontist friend of mine and see about getting some of the wire that they use, because it's very has a lot of unique characteristics. And wire, when they make wire, they draw it through a die, so it's burnished and very smooth just by the nature of what it is. And also, you can also use that sleeve, that thin plastic sleeve, to go over it. And that comes in numerous different configurations and materials.
Hey, Yasha.
Oh, hey, Yasha.
Yasha, there he
Hey, how's
is.
it going?
Okay. Well,
Hey,
Yasha,
John, I
I've
see
already...
you got that double action working while I was slaving away with SolidWorks.
That's right. While you were slaving away, I was having a party with young Dennis. I think it looks pretty promising. We'll test it out tomorrow. Also, I want to make a hand version just so that we can see if it'll work there also.
Thank you, John.
We're sort of wrapping up here. Do you have anything to contribute? This is the R&D Hangout. Do you want to give us a briefing on the scanning technique? Do you have anything to report?
Oh, who, me?
Josh?
Yeah, so even if you have a big fancy computer, SolidWorks only uses one core for the scan to 3D add-in.
The bottom line being?
The bottom line is when we scan in stuff, need to keep the polygon count.
You cut out, but I think what you just said is we need to keep the mesh resolution low so that it doesn't take forever to use a scan.
Yes. The scan to 3D add-in in SolidWorks takes a polygon, a topological mesh, and then interpolates NURBS surfaces over in a sort of reverse engineering. It's a really rudimentary reverse engineering package.
Okay.
But
Mark, I've forgotten. Have you worked with scans?
Many times, and that's how I was just about to chime in on. And this is my next question, or I'll kind of explain what we do. So we use a Sense 3D scanner. It's not very expensive. It's fairly cheap, but it's accurate to the point where we need it to be. And the hardest part is actually keeping for us right now, we've been doing children, so keeping their arm, straight, or however they need to put it. If we put it flat on a table, you can't get the underneath side, so that also doesn't work out the best. Literally just post about a smartphone scanner. Still waiting on one to actually be good and enough resolution. The scanner we're using right now is, I think it's $399 or $400 or however it is. I think it's about that expensive. I don't think it's any more than that. But mainly what I do for scans, yep.
That's the 3D Systems product, correct? And then,
Yep, that's the 3D Systems product, and I think it was like $399 or $400 or however.
Okay.
For now,
but so you quoted. I haven't done any analysis of the accuracy or precision of the next engine. There's actually a couple papers out about it, but so what the number?
Repeat that again. Sorry, you were cutting out. I wasn't sure what you wanted.
Yeah, Yasha's cutting out, but I think I heard it. He wants to know whether you have a statistic on the resolution of the Sense 3D device.
Let's put it like this. We've made a scan of a hand and a scan of an arm, and we've actually printed out the STL file that it generates. And it's close enough to where you can lay it in a size of a palm that you already printed off previously and see if the hand will actually fit in there correctly or not. I don't know the exact numbers that Joshua wants. I'll be completely honest with that. But for us, we're using this 3D scanners. Generally, what I'll do is before we make a hand, we'll scan their arm like that, so I can put that into Blender or Fusion 360 or whatever software program that we're going to use. Put that in there, and then actually put the hand on top of that, and then shape the hand around it to make sure that we get all the points of the hand in a nice, making sure that nothing touches or nothing was going to rub or like that. So anyway, we've had no trouble with it. So
what's your software tool chain for that. So I'm actually going to be getting a demo with the Sense 3D come Friday, so I'll have some hands-on time with one.
Yeah,
And,
so Sense 3D will actually create an STL file for you.
Right.
So Sense 3D will let you create an STL file for you, and then just from that you just pop right into whatever CAD program you're using.
Right. Understood, but so I understand you use Blender, which plays well with meshes in sort of relative terms, but I'm talking about converting it to a NURBS surface to like an Inventor or SolidWorks. Inventor and SolidWorks do not play well with meshes. It's got to be converted.
Well, the thing is, Josh, is that you don't need to use the scan of the arm for any future changing of the meshes. The scan of the arm is just basically an object that you're putting on the screen to mold stuff around. You don't need to change anything with the meshes around. I mean, unless you're doing something with, you need to change the meshes around, which I can't really imagine what you would want to do.
You're taking the time to. Yikes.
Yeah.
A scan of a hand takes 3 minutes.
Yeah, but I'm just asking, really taking my scan and subtracting it.
Yeah, so you should turn off your video because you are indeed cutting out.
Yeah, I'm not understanding what you're trying to say.
Well, Yasha's turning off his video. There you go. Say it again.
Test.
Okay, so now let me just. I know where the confusion is. Mark, Yasha is testing a technique for making arm sockets that conform at every point to the envelope of the hand. And so for that purpose, he wants to take the mesh and intersect it with a solid socket in order to make a cup that just matches.
Gotcha.
And for that, he believes he needs to do that within Inventor or something like.
Correct. And now I get it. So, and that's kind of what I was thinking just about the thing. When you do create the arm socket, you also gotta remember you gotta leave room in there for some foam padding.
That's right.
So it doesn't have to be pinpoint accuracy, intersection, solid on there, taken away, stuff like that. You know, you can put an object in there and then you can form it, go to the wireframe axis, and you can form it right on there. And then you don't have to worry about it going on there and subtracting meshes like that. That's plenty of too much work to do all that stuff. It's better to do kind of the idea of where you just put an object in there and you make a wire mesh of it and you pop a circle in there and you're good to go. So because you also remember, because you gotta add foam in there at some point in time. So you can't just have it bare skin in contact with the plastic at any means, because that will make irritations like that as well too. So
it's a good point. We're gonna run it to ground.
Okay, so you are just using the mesh as a guide. You aren't using it as the actual standing. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. It's just the mesh is just the scan that we do with the Sense 3D scanner is just a guide. It's just a guide for us. For right now, we're not making a socket.
Understood.
Unlike you guys for the IRT with the full arm. But for us, we make the scan and then I take the actual STL files and I do all that stuff and to them and make all the meshes like that and make sure that there's no different parts of different parts of hands. Some people have fingers that will come out of there like that. That you have to make adaptations to the palm area or something like that to incorporate all that stuff without making the hand too big to incorporate those areas in there. So that's kind of the trickier parts to everything, because again, if they have a little bit of a finger poking out, you have to make room inside the palm for that area. So then you don't resize the whole palm just to put that in the socket, which then the hand will be too bigger than their non-effective hand. So there's many different list stuff to do. So yeah, just basically the thing is that just the scan, the STL file that you get from the scan, don't think of it anymore as you have to use it as an object to take a mold from it. You just use it and you just put an object around it and you mold it yourself, and it's easier to do that.
I see. That makes a lot of sense for fitting up hands. I mean, that really does. It's just for a socket, so I feel like the fit up is much more crucial than just making sure everything fits, if you will.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Making sure things fit, just making sure there's actually space for fingers and whatnot.
Right. But so I want you to get there, but Mark does make the point, Yasha, that right now you're exploring the notion that you can do something really perfect, and maybe we don't need something really perfect, especially if we're going to end up putting padding in there.
Exactly.
So just the caution against engineering perfection versus functional adequacy.
Exactly.
Right.
It's 9:30, but I have one other point. I happened to notice today, Melina, that two people, both Shay and somebody else, mentioned that their hands were down for repair right now. And it raises the possibility that we have enough of them out there that we're beginning to get interesting data on failures and things that we can address. And it's something that we should somehow try to systematically capture. I'm not sure how. I just want to put it on the table. Of course, I'm not sure Melina was there to hear it, but all of you... Oh, good. Okay.
I have people in the room, so I had the mute on. I didn't want them to interrupt. I think I read something about that, too. I don't remember who it was that posted it.
One was Renee Stollenwerk. That's Shay's mom.
Okay.
And the other one I will hopefully rediscover. But I think the moral of the story is we should probably have some mechanism for people to report failures or breakages or misfunctions, make some way of making it really simple, just so we can start collecting information.
Okay.
Yeah. And that information, if I don't see all that information all the time, because obviously there's a lot of stuff that are just sent by emails with that. That's the information that I need. And I need that information so we can update the models and we can fix the parts that are being broken. With that, then, that's why we do the new version with that. I mean, there's a lot of little tedious things that we do in the model to fix it. That's what we're doing that's why you see so many different versions. They look almost identical or almost the same, but there's a lot of different things that are going on in it, and that's why we'll be getting some feedback back from the children and from the adults that are using it and all that stuff too. But any of the parts, any feedback whatsoever like that, it should come right back to the designers of the hand, so that we can improve the hand. So.
And for that matter, Melina, do we track what model each recipient has?
No, and there's some of the ones that have been completed. I sent several today. It's just through guesswork I've tracked down that they have actually been completed, and we have virtually no information.
Okay. So someone someday is going to start. Someone with a good obsessive compulsive streak is going, or the Hand-O-Matic software is going to have to really improve this kind of tracking. In time, we'll get there.
I think that I don't have the experience of what happened before I was here, so I think the communication is probably a little bit better now. Maybe just the process is smoother. Because I'm staying in contact with the designers that are doing the hands currently that I've started.
Right.
Hopefully, moving forward, it will be better than it has been.
Yep. For that matter, well, okay. So we'll mop it up as we go. Okie-doke.
So I should
sorry.
all my designs, really.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark?
Yeah, what's up?
With the thumb modification that you've been doing, where you only have one hinge on the non-thumb side of the. How much does that affect the stability of the object? Is that going to make them more likely to break?
Nope. And that's something that Jeremy kind of posted or talked about very earlier on into this group. If you were here, if you kind of remember a little bit about that, you might have. I think you were setting up the notes for that part.
I may have not heard.
Yeah, so what we did, and I can kind of show you it right now. I don't have the gauntlet with me, but so this is what the hand looks like. So this is the back side. Obviously you can see one tab here, but no tab on this side. because that's the part where the thumb cut out. The tab that we made here, though, is, you can't really tell. The tab is thicker. It's thicker, and it also has this kind of triangle piece right here. It kind of connects the part of the tab to the actual palm itself. And with that, and then the actual gauntlet part of it, instead of being a single-sided gauntlet that goes on side, it's now a two-sided gauntlet. So it actually will take from this side and we'll actually move that over, make it a double female connector, I guess you call it, from a male connector if we're talking in medical or in mechanical terms like that. So the palm will actually sit right inside of like that, and the connector of the gauntlet will sit right on the outside like that. So I talked to Jeremy a little bit about it, saying that his bolt sizes for the hinge of the gauntlet might have to be changed around a little bit because we did strengthen up that hinge there. But the problem is that we had to go to a one hinge with anyone with a residual thumb, because any time that you had any piece coming out from this side where the thing is cut off, any part coming off of that, it would actually impede their motion from bending this part of their thumb inwards. So that's why we had to go to a one hinge hand, and we haven't, it's been totally fine. We haven't had any problems with it. The way we've been doing it is that there's even when you're moving it like left and right instead of up and down, there hasn't been any problem with that. It's still strong and stable. So.
Nice.
That's very cool. I have a question, Mark. Do you have a version log as you revise these files? Do you have some single document that sort of tracks the evolution of these things, or is it still a matter of tinkering client by client by client?
Hate to say it, but it's a lot of tinkering by client by client by client. And it sucks to do that because every little client is a little bit different, and we do have to make changes for every single client, or I wouldn't say change for every single client. But I don't have a track log for each of the versions I'm releasing, like each thing.
Isn't it the case that when you have a new client, you start from one of your standard templates and then you customize it?
For the most part, yes.
Then let me urge you, as you'll notice Yasha and Lydia are also urging you, that you come up with some kind of a versioning scheme. Version. I think you're working on Cyborg Beast 3 point something right now, and that every time you advance your template, you give it a new decimal number, and in a file called changelog.txt, you indicate what little thing you tweaked to go from 0.6 to 0.61.
and I thought about actually, let's make a file for everything I do and like that stuff. But here's the thing: I think we've hit on this point previously when we were trying to reorganize files like that. But if I made a file for every person I've done, I would have 17 to 20 more versions of the hand that we have currently right now.
That's not actually what that's not what I'm saying.
No.
What I'm saying is, shall I go?
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry. Look, right now you've just gone from a Cyborg Beast with a two-sided wrist to a Cyborg Beast with a one-sided wrist. That's a major version change. The next time you have an intact thumb, you're going to modify that file. And so those major versions, your templates, should be logged, even though you're going to tweak each of them for every one of your clients. I'm not saying save each client's individual file. I'm saying define your templates so that you can at least attach each client to a template, and so that when people look at your templates, they know how the 3.4 template differs from the 3.5 template.
I get what you're saying. And let me see, maybe this might clear it up the way how we're organizing our files here between myself, Dr. Jorge Zuniga, and Adam, is that Adam's hand that he made without the thumb is now Cyborg Beast no thumb 1.0. and then from the next version he makes, or the things we do to it, will be 1.1, 1.2, and that's all going to be with the no thumb because the file name will be with that.
Perfect.
And that's what we've been doing. So that was the confusion part of it.
Okay.
So
Then you have a changelog, a single file that explains the difference between no thumb 1 and no thumb 1.1.
track the design improvements in a log file, and then for each person that you make tweaks for, just a separate file mentioning what tweaks you did, so that you can go back to it later and quickly make the same tweaks to a improved version if you have in the future.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I have those files that we've done for each of the children and stuff like that. I mean, not each of them are different. Majority of them are the same kind of stuff, but every once in a while you have something a little bit different that you have to do. But those I don't share.
Right.
Those I don't share. Those are just on my computer, because if I did share them, we would have so many more files out there, and it would be too confusing.
So all you really need to do is, with a changelog document that just talks about what design improvements are done to each new version as you go, and you probably don't have to track any of the monitoring.
No, I haven't tracked every single small change I've had done for every version, just because I felt like there was no need to, because with the amount of testing that we do for each version and getting the feedback from each children and adult like that, we've seen that there's no reason of having to go backwards to a version and keep pushing forward.
I agree with that. I do a lot of software design at the company I work at, and if we're going to be going to a site to do any modifications to any of the water trucks that I work with, I want them to update all the software to the latest, because I don't want to have to deal with the old software.
Right.
That's kind of the same idea.
Yep, it's pretty much, in a different context, pretty much exact same idea.
But Mark, I haven't understood yet. I understand that you have a thumb 1 and a thumb 1.1, for example, right?
Yep.
Is there a single file called changelog.thumb.txt that explains the difference between 1 and 1.1?
Nope, and there doesn't need to be one, I don't think.
That's where we are arguing with you.
Okay, no, and that's fine. I don't think, I personally, what my idea here, and I might be wrong, and I'm okay with being wrong, is that personally for me, when I've been making all the updates for all the fingers and all the stuff like that, I don't see a reason to track every single change I have to do, because sometimes between versions, sometimes it's 25 different changes, sometimes it's closer to about 100 different changes, and they're so minute that it's not going to make a difference of tracking every single small thing and letting everyone know, hey, this is what we did from 1.0 to 1.1. With major changes in there is stuff that we do tell, and that's in the info description on Thingiverse of what Horace Viga's been saying of this newest update. This is kind of the major things we've done, but we don't have to say every single little minute little thing.
I'm actually not, that's right, I agree with that. I'm not saying you need to do every bit of minutia, but I'm saying for each significant advance, that should be entered in a single file that tracks that entire lineage.
Instead of doing a single file, we've just been doing it with the posts on Thingiverse.
No, I understand, but the problem with the post on Thingiverse is that it tells you, it means that if you want to understand the history, you now have to do archaeology, whereas if you just keep on updating a single file called changelog.txt, okay, I don't care if you agree, I care if you understand. If you say, I got it.
I do understand. Right. I do understand. All I have to do is there's dates with each of the things that we've done, each of the files that have a certain date that we release them and update them with, and then within that paragraph or whatever it is, there's the major changes.
Okay. Okie doke.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you need to go back and make it for all the previous models.
No.
but for going forward, it might be nice to list what you changed and why if it's important, and put it in a file that we can access, I guess, if you can.
No, yeah, I mean, I can definitely do that. I mean, that's not a problem to do. I just haven't done it in the past before because I didn't really see the major benefit of doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can most definitely do it. Like, that's not a problem to do.
Okay. It may be partly a religious issue, but it's also a religious issue that's based on a history of experiences. It's sort of crowd wisdom that inevitably you wish you had that record. So you don't have to learn it the hard way. We're urging you to just satisfy our.
I appreciate. Thank you, Jonathan. I do understand what you're saying, and I do appreciate where you're guiding. No, I do. I really do.
Okay.
I think we were talking about two different things about how to name the version, how to do all this stuff. So I do understand what you're saying. And if that does help out people of knowing exactly, like, not I won't say exactly, but like you said, like the major things in a separate document than putting on Thingiverse, I can do that.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Are we good then?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, good.
So, anything else?
Things are good.
Personally, I'm ready to bail.
People are starting to look a little tired.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
All right. That's all I've got for today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast, and I'll copy the side notes into the shared document that John put at the beginning of the file, or I guess the one I put, since John just reached back over to it. And I'll copy everything into that, and I'll add that to the notes.
And Melina and Lydia, you might want to take responsibility, one of you, for remembering that we need some sort of a failures inventory.
Absolutely. We can take care of that.
Excellent. Okay. And Trouble, I have reminded you that if you make a cast of your hand, we will be happy to try to make an arm for your arm.
I need to order some alginate, and as soon as I've got it, I'll make a cast.
Wait.
So I don't know how long it'll take to order that, but I'll put the order in later tonight.
Terrific.
All right. So I'm going off air.
Okay.
Bye.